The day my greedy son and his wife won $85 million in the Powerball lottery, they kicked me out with the words, "We don't need your pathetic pension money anymore. Just go die somewhere else." They went pale when I laughed and said, "Sweetie, did you even read whose name is on that lottery ticket? If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from." Let me backtrack and tell you how we got to this delicious moment of justice. 3 weeks ago, on a chilly December morning in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I was doing what I'd done every Friday for 32 years, buying my weekly Powerball ticket at Murphy's Corner Store. Same numbers I'd played since 1994. Same ritual, same hopeful little prayer to whoever might be listening upstairs. My name is Dorothy Dot Thompson, but everyone calls me Dot. I'm 68, widowed 3 years now, and living in what my daughter-in-law Brittany likes to call our guest room, though guests usually aren't expected to hand over their entire Social Security check as household contribution. "Morning, Mrs. Thompson," called Jimmy Murphy from behind the counter. At 28, he still remembered when I used to bring my son Ryan in for penny candy. "The usual?" "You bet," I said, handing him my $5. He printed the ticket, numbers 7, 14, 23, 31, 45, Powerball 19. They meant something special. 7 for the day I married my late husband Harold, 14 for the day Ryan was born, 23 for our wedding anniversary, 31 for the house number where we raised our family, 45 for the years we had together, 19 for Ryan's age when he graduated high school. So proud and full of promise back then. I never imagined those numbers would become my shield. "Cross your fingers for me, Jimmy," I said, tucking the ticket into my purse. "Always do, Mrs. Thompson. You're due for some good luck." Walking home through the December chill, I passed the old white house with black shutters that Harold and I had shared for 43 years. The new owners had painted it yellow. Harold would have hated that. He always said it looked dignified, like a place where decent people lived with respect and values. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was now living with the child I'd raised in that dignified house, and he was treating me like an unwanted burden. Brittany's new SUV was in the driveway when I reached what I supposed to call home. Through the kitchen window, I could see her on her phone, gesturing wildly, probably talking to her sister about their next vacation or complaining about sharing their house with Ryan's old mom. I let myself in through the back door, hanging my coat on the hook by the laundry room, the same hook where Ryan used to hang his Little League jersey, where Harold hung his work shirts, where normal families hung their things because they belonged somewhere. "Dot, is that you?" Brittany's voice carried that familiar edge it got when she was annoyed, which was most of the time these days. "Just me," I called back, though I wanted to add, "Sorry for existing in your precious house." But I didn't because I'd learned over these past 3 years that survival sometimes means keeping your mouth shut and your dignity intact, even when both are getting harder to hold on to. The day Harold died changed everything, though I didn't realize it at first. Grief blinds you to the vultures circling, especially when one is your own son. Harold's funeral was on a Tuesday in December 2022. The whole thing felt surreal. 45 years of marriage reduced to a 90-minute service and a luncheon with store-bought sandwiches. Ryan gave a nice eulogy about his father being a good provider and family man. Brittany wore black and dabbed her eyes at the right moments, though I'd never seen her shed actual tears over anything that involved her credit card being declined. "Mom, you can't stay in that big house alone," Ryan said as we drove home from the cemetery. "It's not practical." I was staring out the window at the frozen farmland, thinking about how Harold and I used to drive this route when we were courting. He'd hold my hand and talk about the house we'd buy, the children we'd raise, the life we'd build. "Practical was never part of those dreams," I replied. "I've managed just fine for 65 years. I think I can handle a few more." "But the upkeep, the lawn care, the snow removal," Brittany chimed in. "At your age, Dot, those things become dangerous. What if you fall? What if no one finds you for days?" Her concerns sounded genuine. I almost believed it. "Besides," Ryan added, "we have plenty of room. The guest bedroom hardly gets used, and you could help with the grandkids when they visit." Help with the grandkids. That should have been my first warning. Ryan and Brittany's house was a sprawling colonial in the newer part of town. 3-car garage, huge kitchen island, the works. They'd bought it 5 years earlier, stretching their budget to what Brittany called the absolute limit. What did I know?
I was just a widow with a paid-off house and 45 years of savings Harold had carefully tucked away. The guest room was nice enough, pale yellow walls, white furniture, a view of their manicured backyard. It'll be like a comfortable hotel, Brittany said, plumping the pillows. Your own space, but with family nearby. The first month was actually pleasant. I cooked dinner most nights, did the housework, kept to myself when they needed privacy. They seemed grateful, though they never offered to pay for groceries or utilities, despite my Social Security check going toward what Brittany called household expenses. By the second month, the requests started. Dot, can you watch Emma and Jake this weekend? We need couple time. Dot, can you pick up the dry cleaning? You're already going out. Slowly, I was turned from house guest to unpaid domestic staff, but I told myself it was temporary, just until the grief eased, just until I felt strong enough to live alone again. I should have listened to Harold's voice in my head. Dorothy, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. By summer, the mask slipped. Brittany's requests became demands, and Ryan became conveniently absent during conflicts. Dot, we need to talk about the financial arrangement, Brittany announced one morning over coffee. She'd laid out papers like a business meeting. Living expenses, your share of utilities, food, maintenance. It's only fair you contribute proportionally. The word proportionally should have been my second warning. Brittany had an MBA and loved corporate terms to make personal matters sound official. She slid a paper across, an itemized list with my share highlighted. $800 for the room, $200 for utilities, $300 for food, total $1,300 a month, exactly $50 less than my Social Security check. This seems high, I said carefully. I'm only one person, and I'm at the senior center most days. But you're using the kitchen, bathroom, laundry, Brittany countered. And when Emma and Jake visit, costs go up. Emma and Jake were Ryan's children from his first marriage. They visited every other weekend. I loved having them around, full of energy and innocent joy. Brittany had a different view. It's exhausting having kids every other weekend, she told her sister on the phone, not knowing I could hear. And now with Dot here, it's like running a boarding house. I signed because what choice did I have? An apartment on my remaining $50 wasn't realistic. Ryan seemed concerned about my welfare, even if Brittany saw me as a profit source. This is temporary, Mom, he assured me, until we figure out a long-term plan. The long-term plan involved me becoming invisible and useful. By fall, I did all shopping, cooking, cleaning. When the kids visited, I was their main caretaker, while Ryan and Brittany went out. When they entertained, I served snacks, then disappeared upstairs. The breaking point came in November, during Brittany's dinner party. I'd spent the afternoon preparing appetizers and cleaning. As I collected plates, I overheard Brittany to her friend, "It's perfect. Dot handles everything, watches the kids, and her Social Security covers most expenses. It's like live-in help who pays us." Her friend laughed. "Brilliant! You should write a book, How to Monetize Your Mother-in-Law." Standing there with dirty plates, something broke inside me. This wasn't family helping family. This was exploitation. I didn't say anything that night. I just loaded the dishwasher and went to my room. After all, I still had my Powerball ticket to look forward to. And sometimes, if you wait long enough, the universe evens the score. December brought an early blizzard, and Brittany's announcement, they were converting the basement into a mother-in-law suite. She showed drawings like it was an upgrade. You'll have privacy, your own small kitchen, separate entrance. The basement. They wanted to isolate me completely. What if I don't want to move? I asked. Brittany's smile tightened. We've been thinking, we need our space back as a couple. The suite gives you independence while keeping us close. And if I prefer somewhere else? Silence. Ryan cleared his throat. Mom, we'd understand if you explored other options. At my age, with $50 left monthly, options were limited. Subsidized senior housing with long waits or a tiny apartment in a rough area. That Friday, I walked to Murphy's with determination. Snow made steps slippery, but I was beyond caring. Rough weather, Mrs. Thompson, Jimmy said. I've walked through worse, I replied. Same numbers. As he printed, I thought about those numbers differently. Maybe it was time they represented something new. Cross your fingers, I said. This could be your week. Back home, Brittany was on the phone with a contractor. Cheapest options only. It's just for one elderly person. That's what I'd become. Not Dorothy Thompson, who'd raised a family and buried a husband, but someone to manage cheaply. That night, the winning numbers were announced on TV. I was in bed reading when the news came. 7, 14, 23, 31, 45, Powerball 19. $85 million. My hands shook as I checked the ticket. There they were. After 32 years, I'd won big. My first instinct was to tell them, then I remembered everything. I kept quiet, planning. Saturday morning chaos, kids visiting, Brittany heading to the salon. Dot handled the kids. Of course, while tidying, Brittany rifled through my purse for coupons. Dot, where are they? In the side pocket. Then, oh my God, is this a Powerball ticket? She stared at it, then Googled the numbers. Her face went white. Ryan, come here! Ryan rushed in. They compared, stunned. Silence. Then Brittany shrieked, $85 million! We won! They celebrated, hugging, planning upgrades, forgetting me, until I said quietly, the ticket is in my name. Their faces dropped. What do you mean? Brittany asked. I bought it. With my money, my numbers. It's mine. The horror on their faces was priceless. The next hours were chaos. They paced, called friends. We won. But I watched, calm. They tried, Mom, we're family. We share. Like when you shared by charging me $1,300 monthly while I worked for free? They panicked, suggesting lawyers, advisors, implying I couldn't handle it. Sunday, Brittany had binders. 70% of winners go broke. You need guidance from family. I revealed what Harold had prepared, a trust fund of $500,000 he'd set up secretly, knowing they might exploit me. He'd hired investigators. They were in deep debt. At the family meeting, I laid out documents, their debts, my overpayments, the exploitation. They cried, protested, but it was too late. I left for the Villages in Florida, a beautiful senior community with endless activities, golf courses, and independence. My deposit was paid, and I chose Florida for its warm weather, no state tax on lottery winnings, and vibrant retiree life. As I walked out, I said, handle your debts now. My pension stops today. In my new life, with $85 million and Harold's protection, I was finally free. Justice, when it comes, is perfect. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and share your stories in the comments. Your voice matters.